Hello. Welcome back to the Moonshine Moonshot series.
Tactics and strategy, that's what we're going to be talking about today. And as communications specialists, we're acutely aware of how important it is to understand the difference between strategy and tactics.
Okay, so what's the difference? A tactic, an example of a tactic would be, I need a video for Facebook that is exactly, 93 seconds long or whatever, and often we find that when we're running a strategic communications planning workshop, often people just gravitate straight to the tactics. That's not the way to do it, guys. You really got to start with strategy and let the strategy determine what your tactics are going to be. What are the best tactics that fit your strategy?
So thanks for joining us today. I'm Sue Collins.
I'm Mike Hill.
And this is a series that we very much put together because we're really motivated to help you make better videos. We don't want to see any more boring videos and rubbish content because there's more than enough of it already. And if you can really focus on the strategy behind why you're creating content, then you can also look at what tactics you can use to get those videos out there, and you're going to have a much, much better result.
We want to see you make the biggest impact possible and change the world. That's your moonshot, and that's what we're here to talk about. So what is strategy and what are tactics? So strategy is really that overarching reason why you're doing what you're doing. So usually videos do not exist in isolation. Occasionally we still see that. We will make a single video, but typically they're part of a much broader communications plan, communication strategy, and you really need to think about the key things that come into your strategy to determine what your tactics are going to be.
So a good example is this particular series that we're creating, the Moonshine Moonshot, which our strategy is to help our audiences communicate better, and this video series is a tactic to achieve that goal.
Yeah, and this is just one of a few different tactics that are being used in this series. We're also creating an audio podcast. That's another tactic. We're also creating written blogs, another tactic. We're also creating some micro content that goes around these videos. That's another tactic. So there's quite a few tactics, but it's best not to get drawn into tactics so that your strategy is serving the tactics and not vice versa, because that's where you can get a bit unstuck.
So how do you create your strategy? I think that's what we probably need to drill down on here. So you've got an idea of what you want to achieve, but how do you actually craft that into a strategy?
Yep, and we've got a whole episode that looks at that. But big picture, you need to know what your broad goal is, what your objective is, more broadly around your communication series or why you're communicating. Then you need to think about your audience, what they care about, what messages you're imparting on them, how you're imparting those messages, who the messengers are, what their core concerns are, and lots of other considerations that will tie into your strategy. Suggest you watch the strategy episode to get a better sense of what that looks like. After you've done all that hard lifting, you're ready to talk tactics. You know what you're doing now. You know what direction you're going in. You can decide, do you need videos for LinkedIn, Facebook? What duration should they be? Are they different? Do you need something for Instagram? It's going to be a different shape, probably going to be a different duration as well. YouTube, different again. So is it going to live on your website? Are you going to use it in your email signature? On and on it goes. They are all tactics. So that comes after you figured out your strategy.
All right, so just going to put the brakes on there a bit, Mike. You've just listed off like a whole bucket list of things that everyone's got to think about. So I think we need to just clarify what is strategy. And so you reeled off a whole bunch of things that do make up the strategy. But the key thing, the very key that you have to get to in the first instance is, what are you trying to do? Like what is the purpose of the project that you're about to take on? What is ultimately the thing that you're trying to achieve?
Spot on. And then that will guide what tactics you decide to use to achieve that goal, to get to your moonshot. So don't let tactics lead. If you're in one of those workshops and people are launching in at the start of the workshop with tactics, say put the brakes on. Say, look, let's park that for now, and we will come back to tactics near the end of this session, and we won't start with them.
Yeah, so I mean, another example is that even just this morning I was talking to one of our team members who works on our communications for Moonshine Agency, and so we have a whole lot of different platforms. You know, we use Facebook, we use Instagram, we use YouTube, we use Twitter, we use podcasting. We do all kinds of marketing things for our company and for all the various projects that we create.
Lots of tactics.
A lot. And also because we're a video production company, we film a lot of content. We travel the world usually when there's not a pandemic, and we capture thousands of photos and all of these things. You know, there's so many different things that we can draw on. And it's quite easy to go, oh, well, we'll put up some video of the footage that we're capturing around the world on Instagram, and then on Facebook we can share some of the videos that we're creating on YouTube, and suddenly you have this whole kind of all this stuff that you can do, but there's not actually a strategy behind it. So it ends up feeling like just very random acts of marketing, and there's no real thinking in what you're trying to achieve. Yeah. And then you can get completely bogged down in it, and then you don't know where to start. So that's why you've got to kind of go, so what are we trying to do? If Moonshine Agency, what's one of the key things we're trying to do? One of the key things that our business does is we want to move humanity forwards. And one of the ways that we want to do that is by helping people make really great content that inspires. So one of our tactics is to create this Moonshine series.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I think the strategy is the thing that makes all of that content cohesive. It's the why that ties it all together. And that's why you got to start with it. So rather than diving into why you need a bunch of, Instagram videos or whatever it is, take a step back and decide, why do you need that? What's driving that? And then you'll end up with a more cohesive result across all your communications.
That's right. Are you trying to get people to sign up to your newsletter? Are you trying to grow a community on Facebook? Are you trying, and what's the reason that you want to do that? Like, ultimately, is it to get more leads into your business? Is to progress a social cause? Is it to get sales? Yeah. So got to kind of really drill down on it and get really granular, actually, and that's going to actually make all the other marketing decisions you have to then choose a lot simpler.
So in a nutshell, strategy versus tactics, strategy wins every time for me.
It is the umbrella.
Strategy eats tactics for breakfast. Thanks guys, hope that helped, and subscribe to the channel if you want more of this type of content.
And let us know if you've got questions, just leave some comments. Thank you.
See you next time. Strategy wins every time for me.
It is the umbrella.
Strategy eats tactics for breakfast.